Welcome back to the Inland Off-Road Championship, the Stella 250, round number 4 of the championship, where we continue our run through the prologue to decide the starting order for the main event. The strongest opposition for Class D honours came in the form of another Toyota Land Cruiser, the Propeller Centre entry of Tiens du Toit and James O'Mahony. Pushing hard all season long, the D2 entry has yet, though, to clinch a win, taking second places in all 3 events so far this season. A newly fitted differential, with no time for setup though before the race, did hamper their prologue progress, and they would have to do some key adjustments before the main race to get themselves in order to go and chase down their first victory of the 2020 season. After having not raced so far this season, and with their car not yet sold, Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo decided to come and race the Stella 250 in the KD Civils Toyota Hilux. With a new engine fitted, the strategy was to simply take it easy, not something that is usual in their vocabulary. With no championship pressure on them though, the pairing stayed out of trouble and brought the car home in one piece, ready to tackle the main race. Still with the hope of selling it come the checkers. Leading the Class G Championship for side-by-side vehicles, Glenn Turon and Craig Galvin were taking it race by race in 2020, trying to not focus in on the championship and simply take it one race at a time, knowing that everyone else was gunning for them. A fairly uneventful prologue saw Bumblebee, as the car is now affectionately known, qualifying second place in class, still rocking the Calyx signed higher colours. For the G-Class, they do take a beating. We've seen a lot of mechanical issues coming out, and it seems like Bumblebee stays out of trouble more than most. That's why they are still the crew to beat. The G2 of Christo Rose and Arno Olivier has a decent turn of speed, but have been suffering in reliability stakes this time around. No strangers to the area though, with both driver and navigator hailing from the nearby town of Vryburg. They were right at home and comfortable in their terrain, giving it stick. A small hometown advantage, knowing exactly how to get the best out of their vehicle in this challenging terrain, was definitely going to help them out come the long, hot run in the afternoon's main event. Starting to now find a turn of speed is the lone G12 Polaris entry in the G-Class, up against a horde of Can-Am Mavericks. Aldi Erasmus and Andre Gildenays are coming on in leaps and bounds this season after only pairing up at the very beginning of the year. We certainly hope they can have a clean run and show the reliability and capability of this car that is really going up against the Goliaths. This David of a Polaris is one more time going to go out and wage war. In its second time out since the great rebuild during the off-season, or the forced off-season that we now know as lockdown, was the Gouveia father and son team in their gearbox services and exchange BAT Spec 0. A few small niggles from the previous race were seen to, and the pairing were looking forward to a trouble-free run out at Stella. This time around though, a sticking throttle that happened in Lichtenberg seemed to rear its head once again, but apart from that, it was all good and all systems go. After rebuilds, cars often have small teething troubles. 1 or 2 races is often all it takes to get it into the sweet spot.
Peter Van der Merwe was back in the navigator's seat in the twin-turbo diesel Ford Ranger, driven by Stijn Vibiers. They were hoping, like all competitors, for a clean run out, and the prologue certainly went off without any issues for them. They got a second in Class S, well inside the top 10 overall, and were probably setting themselves up for one of their highest overall finishes. To come out of the prologue inside the top 10 is the perfect result to start out an event like the Stella 250. For the S21 of Peter Fourie and Keith Smith, they've been in great shape in the 2020 championship, starting to really gel as a squad and getting on with the car. Prologue would decide their order for the day, but it looked like they may have had some issues and would have to do the big fight back. The D20 crew, having made the switch to the faster D class up from Class E earlier this season, Johan Besson was coming to grips nicely in the Bash Auto entry. Kelly LaRue was navigating at this race, but the team ran into some issues in the prologue, meaning they had it all to do in the main race, starting way down the order. Meanwhile, Hein Kruger and Albertus Venter, also from the nearby town of Freiburg, were looking to take the fight to the rest of the Class D competitors. The neatly turned out Heincore Toyota Hilux was certainly up to the task, but the team had some bad luck to date. Stella was going to be the turning point of the season that they were hoping for, to try and get that monkey off their back in 2020. So many crews having major issues on this season. Leading Class E and also the overall production championship was no mean feat for Johan Viersa and Jerry Besson. A clean sweep of victories this season to date, coupled with a good turn of speed and extremely good preparation, seems to be the recipe for their success. We said last season already that their speed was certainly there, but reliability was a different story. What a change a season makes. 2020 is going to be one they remember for all the right reasons. Father and son Aki and Jandre Kruger in an F8 older spec Toyota Hilux have also been very consistent this season so far, and coupled that with good preparation, meaning they're one of the few crews out there to have a 100% finishing ratio. Leading the Class F standings and in the top 5 in the overall standings just shows how consistent their form truly has been as we now enter round 4 of the championship.
2020 has seen a couple of new pairings coming into play. Hendrik Rutt bringing his capabilities at spotting the markers from years of motorcycle racing in the area, with Wayne Smith on the wheel in the speedy tyres, and 4x4 Freiburg entered Toyota Hilux. They had an eventful qualifying. An electric wire melted itself onto the engine, causing all sorts of electrical issues and causing a lot of time to be lost in the process. They eventually did make it to the end of the prologue and had to do some urgent repairs before they too could bring it onto the start line and go racing for the main event. The in-house battle, as always, raging in the Class Bs. The B1 of our all-ladies team of Colleen Croshaw and Marina van Schalkwijk were up, as always, against the husbands in the B2 entry. The damsels pretty much stayed out of trouble and trailed the men home in the prologue by 1 minute and 45 seconds. So they had to do it in the main event if they wanted to keep the one on the B. The in-house family battle for B-Class honours was setting us up for another showstopper of a race. In the workshop and on the prep side of things, for the B2 crew, as always, looking after the ladies in the B1 entry is high up on the agenda. However, for Sifu van Schalkwijk and Arthur Croshaw, they did not want to, when it comes to racing, get beaten by the ladies. They had a good prologue and looked good for the race as well, but as we know, a lot can happen in 180 kilometers of off-road racing. For sure though, the Class B battle was going to be between the B1 and B2 entries. For the E-Class, Suisse Moret and Jacques Leroux were having an up and down season to date so far in 2020. They have yet to find their turn of speed that they've been famous for throughout their racing career, and the Class E battle, as always, was going to be a tough one. To end up on the podium this season was going to be a big ask for the E26 squad. Remember, our Class F and our Class E category production vehicles are the least modified out there. Speaking of which, the E19, one of our older vehicles, and ever since Pinocchio, the green Datsun Bucky retired, the E19 Toyota Hilux of Manu Mulman and Peter Badenhorst is now classified as our oldest production vehicle in the championship. But what they lack in funding and equipment, they make up for in loads of enthusiasm. 10 kilometers into the prologue, they lost all brakes and still somehow soldiered on to reach the finish line. That is what Class E Bucky production racing is all about in the Inland Off-Road Championship. Never say die. For the F24 squad, it was a bit of a blast from the past as an ex-Paolo Piazzo Musso Hilux appeared out of nowhere, this time though with a Lexus 4-litre V8 motor fitted. TG Janse van Rensburg and SW Conradi were at the Stella race, first time out with the car and also as a new pairing in the cockpit. It certainly sounded great though. Time would tell whether the machine, man and navigator would be able to gel well and create the magic that is a result in regional championship off-road racing. Here's a breakdown of the results as we review what happened come the end of the prologue that would decide the main starting order. It was Ernst Robertson and Henry Kerner, even though they made mistakes on their run, that outqualified Jannie Visser and Donnie Moret, with Stompie Meinhardt and Adrian Roots looking strong once again to challenge for a win and a clean score sheet in the Class Ds. A little bit further down, the G-Class was Glenn Turon and Craig Galvin still looking good for their championship as they lined up 9th wheel. Number 10 spot was Tion Statoy and James O'Mahony trying to challenge and win that elusive victory that they've been chasing all season long. After the prologue and while the crews were prepping for the main event, we caught up with a couple of crews to talk about their reactions and hopes for the day.
Yeah, prologue was good. It was good. Bit tight. Very calls weren't missed, called right, but yeah, we're getting there. Trying to keep the bucket together, trying to finish. All we want is a finish today.
Last race we've lost the front diff casing, so we installed a new one. We're still struggling with setup. We didn't have enough time to test it properly, so we're going to do a little bit of adjustment and see what happens in the race now. But it looks good.
The prologue went well. The route was kind of tight in the beginning, but a couple of long straights. We had a flat eventually, but everything further was fine. I can't predict anything. We're going on two-wheel drive because our diff broke in front. So we're only running in two-wheel drive. We don't have any four-wheel, so let's hope for the best. I hope for a first, but let's see. Thanks.
Good day, it's Francois from D33, KD Racing. It's nice to be back after a long absence. We've got a new engine in the bucket, so we're taking it a bit slow today to get the engine run in, and don't want to interfere into the championship. We're not really in the running, but we really enjoyed it. It was a nice day so far, so let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, no, today went very well on the prologue. We had an 89-kilometer prologue, and Francois said to me from the beginning he's going to hold back a little bit. And I must say, with coming off with the pace just a little bit, I think we were faster than we should have been. And it seems like we caught some of the guys in front of us, but we're enjoying it really well.
Yeah, we had a good prologue. Got a puncture the first 500 or 600 meters in the race. I think I just clipped like a tree stump. So I still had to change it. I lost a bit of time, but I think we were quite fortunate still to have pole position after the boo-boo I had.
Yeah, we just like to better our lap times. We got a time for qualifying now, and now that the road is a bit more open, we had to search for a few spots. We have to go faster, and hopefully we can finish on top again.
No, it was very nice. We went well a few kilometers, but only 10 kilometers in, the brake starts to fail and there's only wind in, and so we limp it back home. But otherwise the route is very nice, and thanks for the sponsors and everything, and we will try our best to get into the main race.
No, it was a very nice prologue, and no, everything went well, and we didn't get out of the car, so the route is nice. We hope for the best. Thank you.
Yes, it's G12. It went very well on the time trial. LD on the steering wheel was like he drove like a champ. I think my notes wasn't too bad, but yeah, I think we'll wait for the times and see how we're going to start. But yeah, everything went well. Thanks.
Great reactions from our racing drivers, and it is going to be an interesting situation come the main race. Join us after the break as we see what goes down at the Stella 250, our fourth round of the Inland Off-Road Championship for 2020.